Oh, that's right.
Hello, I'm Casey Aiken. This is 21 This Week. Coming up next, White House Watch. Is political hardball better than the World Series? What if the polls are wrong and nobody wins? Our panel of insiders will give you the story behind the story. We're joined by the past president of Progressive Maryland, Elbridge James. Yes. Republican activist, Jerry Cave. Former chairman of the Montgomery County Republican Central Committee, Mark Uncapher. And political strategist, Susan Heltemes. Stay tuned for these stories and more on the next 21 This Week. There seems to be a cacophony of conflicting political news these days. One minute Hillary is slipping, and the next Donald Trump's chances of winning enough electoral college votes depends on New Hampshire. Or was it Nevada? No, certainly it must have been Florida. But if the Cubs won the World Series and if North Carolina flips, then Hillary is doomed. Or was that if Cleveland wins the World Series and Michigan flips, then Wisconsin wins the Big Ten football championship and goes to the Rose Bowl? As you can see, folks, there's a never-ending number of scenarios to justify whichever way your political leanings take you. But there is certainly one thing, and I mean one thing that nobody predicted a year ago. Nobody could have predicted what went on during this past election. Prognosticators Nate Silver and Larry Sabato have Hillary Clinton winning the presidency, while pollster Pat Caddell has Trump winning in a landslide. Mark, is there any certainty at all in this presidential election?
There's very little, because there's been so much movement, because I think people are having trouble making up their mind, at least those last voters that are swinging back and forth, deciding whether or not to come out with. This is an election that's up for grabs.
It's still up for grabs?
It's still up for grabs.
You mean people haven't gotten enough yet? All right, Susan, a week ago, the Democrats on this very panel were saying that there would not be a Comey effect after the FBI director's letter to Congress was released informing of the reopening of the email investigation. I think the term that John Herson used was the email issue had already been baked into the cake. Do Democrats still feel that way?
We've been talking about these issues on the show and in the campaign. It's like Groundhog Day. We keep going back and forth and back and forth. And there's really nothing new in the email that came out this time. I think voters, it's running off of their back. And she went down in the polls for a day or two, but she's back to where she was last Friday. So we will see.
All right, Elbridge. The New York Times reports that African Americans are failing to vote at the robust levels they did 4 years ago in several states that could help decide the presidential election, creating a quote-unquote vexing problem for Hillary Clinton as she clings to a deteriorating lead with the election just a week away. Why is that?
This is like back in the day when we were going out and getting Parliament Funkadelic tickets versus going out and getting Temptation tickets. With the Parliament Funkadelic and Obama, we were enthusiastic. We jumped up and down, yeah, this is our opportunity. We know Clinton. Clinton is a good soul for our community, but we can always go out and get the tickets and everything. On voting day, on a Tuesday, we'll be out, but we just weren't going to be out early.
Well, Hillary Clinton had her little bottle of hot sauce. Doesn't that qualify that she's not just middle of the road anymore?
Well, we're still sniffing her. She's good now, but we're just going to wait and get the tickets later.
And Trump's question to black voters, why not try me? Because you've gotten nothing from the Democratic parties for the last 30 years. Isn't that resonating at all?
No, it's like that commercial where two raccoons are in the trash can and one says, "Ooh, this tastes terrible. Come try it." No, it's still terrible.
All right. Jerry, political observer Charles Cook opined that Democrats have run out of language to use against Republicans and suggests that voters are inured to the attacks against Donald Trump because they've heard it before. Is Cook correct?
He is indeed. Even if they weren't inured, they don't hear it. People only hear what they're going to get from their media, but they're getting in social media, they're finding it out. Now, what's more important is the polling is inaccurate because they're using metrics from the Obama election where you had a lot of enthusiasm on the Democrat side. That's why they underpredicted Larry Hogan by 14% and Gillespie in Virginia by 9%. The black community is not going to come out as much in this election, and Donald Trump is going to get a much bigger chunk of it. He has a great pathway to the election in the Electoral College. Internal polling is showing that 90% of Republicans are coming home and voting for the ticket. He's going to get all of the Romney states, which includes North Carolina. Then he gets Florida and Ohio, and he only needs 17 more votes after that, and there is plenty of opportunity to do so.
Casey, I want to throw in, you say they're coming home, but
90%.
Yesterday Ted Cruz in Iowa could not mention your candidate's name.
We don't care. I mean, look,
and Ryan, do you...
Trump is running as much against the Bushes and the Cruzes and the everybody else as he is against your party. If you haven't been listening, he's running against the elites.
I've been listening, and do you really think, though, that that's what Republicans are going to vote for that?
Not only that, a lot of your
I
people
wanna
are
go
going to
to
vote for
Mark
that
on this,
too.
I think that's exactly one of the things that the email has driven, is that it drove a lot of Republican and Republican-leaving independents back to Trump because of frankly, Hillary fatigue and not wanting to have a president for the next 4 years who is on the cusp of being indicted for whatever.
I want to go to a follow-up question for you, Mark.
Okay.
Mark, Michael Moore, who is an quote-unquote independent filmmaker, but who likes to think he speaks for the common man, in talking about his new movie about Donald Trump, he said he understood why white voters in the middle class are attracted to Trump because they feel left behind and forgotten for 30 years. Is Michael Moore right?
I think he's right in the sense that this is a change election and people are hungry for something different. And in a change election, somebody like Trump has appeal as opposed to Hillary, who represents a continuation.
But he has not captured the independent voter. And you know
he's
and I
not.
know.
He has.
He has not captured the independent voter like he needs to capture. The black vote, the minority vote is
The
still,
Latino
the Latino vote is still going for Hillary.
white
Wait a minute,
women.
and you talk about those last emails. In fact, if you ignore the fact is that they talked about Weiner and his behavior, and Weiner's behavior more mirrors Trump than Hillary's
Let me
email.
ask you a question, though.
And the
Elbridge.
women
Elbridge,
are
let me ask you a
upset.
question. If what they say about Hillary Clinton is true, that she violated national security, that she was engaged in effect bribery to use her office for financial gain through the Clinton Foundation, why would you want to vote for her?
Why would I want to vote for somebody who has bankrupted his own businesses, who has cheated small businessmen out of their life savings, in fact,
Cheated on his
bankrupted,
wives.
cheated on his wife, told bad things about women. If there is in fact, anti-vote against somebody, it's stacked up against your boy Trump.
You know
And
what?
I-
He's not going to be elected Pope. I think you're right. But people don't care about that.
Yes, they do.
This did not happen by accident, Casey. He came out and saw that two core constituencies in the Democratic Party have been ignored by both parties, and that's blue-collar workers who get hurt by illegal immigration the most, and your inner-city black community too. And he doesn't have to win them. He just needs to lose them by less. And there was a poll in Florida that said 32% of white male Democrats that didn't go to college, which is a blue-collar description, are leaning to Trump.
I think-
You're going to look after this election and see that what he targeted to do, he got
This
done.
is a
and won the
larger,
election.
diverse population.
Huh?
This is not like 1980 or even 2000.
gonna be a lot like 1980.
This is a larger, diverse population, and he has alienated that larger, diverse
And what this
population.
campaign-
Then why are zillions of people showing up at his events?
And you know
I
what?
want to hear from Susan. on
I
this.
have friends who've gone to those events as entertainment and they'll never vote for him. But his campaign is based on racism and bigotry. And it's gotten so bad that in the South, some Republican candidates are referring to African Americans as colored people. He's gotten the endorsement of the KKK newspaper. And when
But Susan, aren't you troubled at all about the allegations of the pay-to-play that Hillary Clinton has engaged in, how her husband and she had financial remuneration from all these foreign countries, that they sold their office? Doesn't that bother you?
I don't think that those allegations have not been proven, and I think there is a lot of wishful thinking on the part of Breitbart of throwing the same old red meat out there over and over and over. I am enthusiastically a supporter of Hillary Clinton. She is
She
sane.
can do no wrong.
She is pragmatic.
She can do no
is
wrong.
Oh, we can all do wrong.
Jerry.
She's a human being.
I got to say one thing. I can't let it pass what Susan's saying about the racism and all that stuff. It's just not true. You can think that and you can say that, but it doesn't pass
It has
with us.
been. He's been taken to court on his housing
This
practices.
guy's been in the guy's been in the public profile for 30 plus years.
We got
and
to
they've never
wrap this up because we got to go on to our next topic. But the fact is, there still is, as we've seen for the last year, the division between people's opinions about this race. We only have 4 more days. We're going to find out. When we come back from this short break, what happens if the polls are wrong and nobody wins? Stay tuned.
Looking for these? You drive buzzed. It could be one very expensive ride.
First, you gotta make bail. Then pay me to get your car back.
Your insurance premiums will go through the roof.
And my legal fees just keep adding up. All told, it could end up costing you $10,000.
Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
And welcome back. The question that we posed when we went to break was, what happens if neither candidate has sufficient electoral votes to win the presidency, or if we have a repeat of the 2000 election, which poisoned the political atmosphere between the parties for years? Mark, you remember selected, not elected. Good way to unify the country. Is there a chance it could happen again?
Actually, I think there's a bigger chance this year than there was in 2000, if that makes any sense. In the way the Electoral College and the popular vote and the way the two campaigns have done their strategy for electoral vote, that you could end up having a split of one candidate gets the popular vote and the other gets the electoral vote. Obviously, the electoral vote determines what the outcome is.
Susan, Trump was lambasted not long ago for not agreeing to accept the election results. But if Democrats thought there were voter irregularities, wouldn't you expect a challenge by the Clinton campaign? And are you worried about voter suppression?
Voter suppression is going on, and the Department of Justice is so concerned that they're sending staff to North Carolina to look into it. The courts have ruled in Pennsylvania that Trump's, request to change all of the poll watching rules have been thrown out and said there isn't a need. But when you talk about voter suppression, Trump said, I'm not going to accept the results unless I win. Well, if he loses, I don't know. If you remember Al Gore, he said, no, I didn't win. But then when everything was resolved in Florida, he got on immediately and said, he's my president.
Well, I don't know. There was a 23-day gap where they were fighting.
Yes, and he had every reason, because the campaign was in
limbo.
The campaign was in limbo. And he said, I defer to the results.
You know what I don't understand about this topic is why when Veritas videos, you can watch them. You may have chosen not to, but you can watch them. And the WikiLeaks emails, which nobody is questioning whether they're true, have demonstrated that the Democrats have colluded to rig the system and steal the primary from Bernie Sanders. And the Veritas videos show that you all have people that have done street thuggery, like the Sturmabteilung in Germany, and then they ask the Republican, are you going to accept it, when all the rigging and voter fraud has been on the Democratic side.
Okay, let me respond to that. There is one person who's been charged with voter fraud, a Republican woman in Iowa who voted for Trump.
She got confused and voted twice.
Oh, give me a break.
You got a person in Virginia registered 19 dead people.
In North Carolina, what was happening there, it has been
Did they collude in the
Reuters.
Democratic primary or not? Do you believe the WikiLeaks? Did you read them?
WikiLeaks. Okay, what happened in North Carolina is that the
so information you don't like doesn't
leaders
exist.
throughout the state
right.
asked boards of elections to curtail early voting in areas where there were large minority populations. I think when you look at voter suppression, it is not going to be on the Democratic
we
side.
Have videotape
Donald
and
Trump
emails.
has told people, you go out there and you take care of people.
Let's separate the chaff from the wheat, just like we did in Florida in 2000. Because there wasn't voter suppression in that case, there was a question as to whether or not the ballots had been properly counted.
And all of them, and all were counted. That was
Well,
a problem also.
Republicans do look at things differently than Democrats, and the fact that Al Gore selectively picked certain precincts and certain counties for to challenge it, it was an open question. They felt if they want to have a recount, do the whole state.
Yeah.
Not just your strong
Let's
Broward
get back
County.
to this
But let's
campaign.
find out about this campaign. Are we going to see similar challenges this time if there is a question in some of these states like North Carolina, in Michigan, in Ohio, in Pennsylvania, where it may be the difference between winning and losing?
Well, Donald
That's
Trump
up to the
would have you
candidates.
think so.
That's up to the candidates. And to be very honest with you, if a candidate believes he or she has not been fairly handled, they have a right to challenge that state, not national, that state, and that state has the responsibility to go through its election process to make sure that it's a fair outcome.
And we've seen here
if you do the whole state, that's fine.
Right.
But don't be selective about it.
But
Donald Trump.
To answer your
But
question,
Donald Trump was talking about Philadelphia, not all of
And
Pennsylvania.
Chicago and St. Louis
Yeah.
and Detroit. He's picked 4 cities.
Yeah, he's picked
And
urban
8
areas.
with track records of voter fraud.
Wait a minute, what track record? Not on this, because the Republicans in
you know what?
Pennsylvania.
Chicago's
the
not-
Republicans in
You know what?
Pennsylvania.
How
Chicago
about
is like
Whoa. How about here in Baltimore, when in the primary you had more votes than people checked in?
In
Now,
wait
I
a
mean-
minute. In 2000 to 2014, there
This
were
year.
1
But was it
billion
gotten taken care
votes
of?
cast. Only 31 of them were found to be foul.
The good news is, regardless of who wins the presidency, the issue of which political party controls the houses of Congress is of utmost importance. Elbridge, if the House and Senate remains Republican, does that help or hurt Hillary Clinton?
If both the House and the Senate, and she wins, remain Republican, it's going to be a difficult time for Hillary. It's clearly going to be obstructionism to its utmost. But I believe, though, she may do a better job at finding avenues of compromise than President Obama. And he's already admitted that that was not one of his strong suits. But it still depends on the Republicans on where they want to, in fact, encourage the opportunities. The American public is hurting. Our infrastructure, our cities, our people are hurting. All of us agree that the middle class and workers are hurting. And it's up to the leadership of this country to say how we're going to fix it. That's a concern we have.
Thank you, Jerry. There are those that feel that the Republicans are so much at war with one another. If they are still in control of the House or the Senate, that there will be nothing but gridlock because they'll be fighting with one another. So does it really matter who gets elected president?
It means everything who gets elected president, and when Trump gets elected, this is all going to go pretty smooth because this guy wrote the book on negotiation, and these clowns down on Capitol Hill are going to find out there's a new sheriff in town.
Well, actually, he didn't write the book. He had a ghostwriter. But this is
You
the
know what he
question
did?
I
He
have.
made billions of dollars in it, which is called Action, and it's a lot bigger
Okay,
deal.
this
Susan.
is the question for you, Jerry, and the Trump fanatics in this country. What are you going to do with Paul Ryan? Because there's no love lost
I
there.
am so glad you asked that. I have written on this extensively.
I don't
and
care. Is he gonna last?
I'm going to answer the question. I coined a term for it. He is going to get Ryanized. You're going to see him exit. He will not be in the Congress at all a year from now.
And who's going to replace
Mark,
him?
Mark,
I
what do you
think
think's gonna happen here?
think, Jerry, that's a preposterous notion, and that would be the biggest mistake.
That
A
is
president,
my
I understand.
purview.
There's a range of views within the Republican Party, and if were that to happen, the prediction that we started out with of kind of chaos and
You
turmoil.
guys don't appreciate the movement that's gone on here against Washington, against the Democrats,
And we're
the
gonna move back
Republicans,
to leave
and
it-
guess on the elites. The American people, like Elbridge, you've been saying, they are hurting. And nobody in my party and nobody in your party offered any solutions. And we got this guy that comes in that doesn't need this job, doesn't need this grief and aggravation, and he has come in and said that he is going to help the American people. That place down the street, down Rockville Pike, is a rancid, corrupt mess.
So what you're saying is he's going to help the
I
common
don't need
person.
you to restate me or put
No,
words in my
but
mouth.
what I'm saying is his tax breaks, for instance, there be 1% tax decrease for normal people, and the big gains are going to go to the people at the top again. Are we going to have Reagan trickle-down economics? Because if that happens, the people that Elbridge has been talking about today are not going to be helped.
And the people that are supporting Trump wouldn't take that either, because that's not who's supporting Trump.
But that's what
it is
he's
middle class.
saying.
You know what, Susan? Just relax. He's going to get elected. We're going to do this, and it's going to work out a lot better for people that you like.
And we're going to go back to 1950 when
No,
white
we're not going
women
back
were
to
staying.
1950.
Oh,
We're going back to 1965.
Oh, wow. That's a time I'd love. Yeah, so women's rights can be taken away.
I'm talking about
Susan.
economically.
Gay rights.
I'm not
Susan,
talking about
do you
that.
really believe your
Yes,
own rhetoric?
he
Do you
has
really
said-
believe this?
No,
wait a
but
minute.
this is a
He
great
doesn't
example
like
of what
Roe
they
versus
do.
Wade. He has said he would like Roe
he's not
versus.
the only person who doesn't like Roe versus Wade.
Yeah, that's right.
There are a lot of people who think Roe versus Wade should have been a state issue and not a federal issue.
It should have been a state issue.
There are a lot.
No, we're
there are a lot
citizens of the United
There's
States.
not unanimity.
We're citizens of the United
United
States.
States.
There's
No,
not
we have a
unanimity
federal
on,
system.
on all this. But guess
You
what,
say
everybody?
federal system, but you always say the state should.
We made a mistake earlier by trying to go to parting shots too soon. But we're gonna take a break now and give you the opportunity of predicting the upcoming election. So stay tuned. Well, we've been having a jolly old time here on the set during the break. So, panel, here are the questions: who's going to be elected president, and which party will control the Senate and the House of Representatives? We're going to start with you, Elbridge James.
Clinton has the presidency, the Democrats have the Senate, Republicans have a slim lead in the House.
Jerry.
Trump is going to win the presidency decisively, if not in a landslide. Pat Goodell is right. We're going to barely hold the Senate. We're going to hold the House comfortably. And the media and their phoniness on the polling is going to be really exposed. Thank you, Elbridge, and the Funkadelics. Appreciate that, too. And they have some splaining to do for the lies they've been telling.
I can't wait till the post-election show. It's going to be so much fun. Susan.
I agree with exactly what Elbridge says. Clinton's going to win the White House. The Senate is going to turn Democrat, and the House will remain in the hands of the Republicans, but there are going to be some Democratic gains.
And Mark.
I think you're going to have a split, electoral college and popular vote. I can't figure out which is going to be which, but since I have to pick, I'll pick Trump as getting the electoral vote. I think the perversity of this year, it'll be a 50-50 Senate. So it'll depend on the vice president picking, and the Republicans will hold the House.
Well, thank you. I have no clue what's going to happen. But here's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping that there's no winner. I want there to be
an anarchist.
I want this to go to the House of Representatives, and I want to see what the House of Representatives decide and debate the issue. This has been a disastrous election cycle, and I just am glad that it's going to be over soon. Well, actually, if I get my way, it won't be over soon. Because we're going to have another 3 weeks or a month where the House of Representatives have to decide who's going to win. It's going to be delicious to watch and delicious to see, but I'm afraid that there may not be a winner Tuesday night or Wednesday morning. And then won't we have fun talking about this next week? So I want to thank everybody for being here. There's some glum faces. There are going to be more glum faces on this set next week, and there will be some happy
It's going to be the
faces.
same faces are going to be glum.
Not exactly.
And the same faces are going to be happy.
We're going to find. We'll find out, Jerry, and we're going to find out. The voters are going to find out. Also, I want to thank all of you for being here. I know that we have a lot of divided opinions, but at least we're able to share them and talk about them which is more than what a lot of communities can do. And I want to thank the viewers. Thank you for tuning in each and every week to Montgomery County's hardest hitting political talk show. For 21 this week, I'm Casey Aiken.